Man, welcome to another episode of the Real Estate Guru podcast. I got a very, very special guest. I got Chris Senegal, formerly known as Investor. Now they call him the mayor of Houston.
Right, man. I'm just happy to be here, bro.
Thank you.
We've been talking about this for a long time, so I'm glad we finally got an opportunity to get it done.
Yeah, I think it took me like a year to get you out, man.
Something like that.
I'll say this, like, you're like, you know how people say they're busy, but they're really not busy? Like, you're really busy. Like, the last time I talked to you was like during the weekend, and I think you flew out to Tampa Bay, and you're like a really, really, really busy guy.
Man, yeah, it's just, I'm on a mission to, really change the culture by, through examples instead of us just having conversations and debates about things. It's like my goal is like, I'm going to shut up and I'm just going to do the work and take away all the excuses.
Okay. I want to say you're like one of the, I don't want to say you single-handedly changed Fifth Ward, but you're one of the main reasons.
Yeah.
You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So there's a couple people that were before me, but my mission was to make sure as many people as possible knew about what was coming to Fifth Ward. Usually what happens in our neighborhoods is gentrification happens when an outside developer comes in and buys things up, and they have their own plan. And usually in those circumstances, we don't know about it and we're oblivious to it, and we still call it the hood. And so we disregard it, but you come back 2 or 3 years later, and the pricing of all the real estate is so expensive that we can't afford it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started studying those plans when I was like a regular flipper, and I was like, well, let me figure out how to reset, how to do something different this time. Let me see if I can have a bigger impact. And so I started studying the city's plans and where redevelopment was going, and what the future projections were for what was going to be the next market. And I saw Fifth Ward was like the last historically Black neighborhood inside the loop close to downtown Houston that had not been redeveloped yet. So I knew everything was coming to that area. And once I bought there in 2013, so I bought an entire block back then, owner finance. So I didn't go to a bank. I just went to somebody who inherited property from their parents, and I was like, look, I'll give you a down payment and make payments to you. I need you to act like the bank for me, because I knew what was coming. And after I did that, 2015, the biggest developer in Houston announced that they had bought 150 acres in the neighborhood. And so at that point, I'm like, okay, bet, game on. So my bet paid off. And I want to make sure I get as many people on board with me so that the bet can pay out for all of us. Because we usually just complain about gentrification and we try to stop it politically or whatever. But what we're really going to do is say, hey, once they come in, we're going to control everything around it. We're going to buy up everything early before it starts looking nice, so that when it does look nice, we have benefited from all that value appreciation, and we've decided and controlled what was coming back into the community. And so that's really just been what I've been doing. So yeah, so I would say there are other developers and investors that were already in Fifth Ward, like you said. I was just the one that was most vocal, and the most out front, telling everybody, hey, this is a chance for us to control our own narrative this time, instead of having a victim mentality or a complaining mentality about what happens in those neighborhoods.
Oh, I mean, look, I want to give you your flowers. Like, I know I told you the story like a couple of days ago, but so we bought a house in Fifth Ward. I think we brought a lot. It was a house. The house was like really, really run down.
Yeah.
I think the ARV was like 160. And then we had a lot next to that. And we got it for like $45,000.
Yeah.
At the time, the lots were going for like 20. So we got it pretty cheap, like $20,000, $25,000 for the house. And I was like selling to all my buyers, and like nobody saw the vision. And I was like, do y'all see what this man is doing over here by what's that, 59 or 16?
59.
59. I was like, you just had a frame and you had like the orange fence.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, I was telling everybody, once he finishes that, Fifth Ward is going to change. Like the whole game is going to change. And luckily, I went half with this other wholesaler, but I still made like $10,000. So you made me $10,000.
And I didn't even know you. That's crazy. But see, that's the power of when we do things in our own communities, man. We think it's all bad, but it's not. I mean, I took a site that was an abandoned grocery store that had prostitutes and drug addicts living on the property. Neighbors didn't even want their kids outside at night. That's how bad it was. Clean it up, and then remove all of that riffraff, and then build new construction homes. And the buyers look like us. They young black working professionals, probably came from a neighborhood just like that. They're the ones that went to college, became successful. Now they want to move back to a neighborhood that they feel comfortable with, and that's what they did. They came back, and people thought that was going to be impossible, but I knew that because of the proximity to downtown and everything that was coming, I knew it was going to be a win. And so so when I started that project at that point in time, when you made that 10 grand, I was probably about 50 grand in the hole.
Yeah.
Because number one, I tore all the buildings down because none of the banks, I went to 23 different lenders. Nobody would mess with the project because there was no new construction in that zip code.
Exactly.
Fifth Ward.
Correct.
And then I hired the wrong team. What I did was I went to a bunch of people that talked my language, had the same ambition, had connections. But where I messed up is that I didn't verify had they actually completed a project before.
So they started stuff, but they never finished it.
Yeah, they talked a lot. They had the right energy. They had the right connections, but it's just little things that needed to be tweaked that they didn't know how to do. And I was paying them as consultants. I was 40 grand in the hole from that.
So you was paying them as consultants?
I was paying them as consultants for the connections, for the work that they were doing. And that's a lot of people get suckered into a situation like that. So that was a real learning lesson for me. Because then when I tore everything down, that eliminated all of my possible revenue from the property because what I did, so from 2013 to 2016, what I was doing with the property was I did single room occupancy for non-violent parolees that come out of prison for felonies. It was really hard for them to get anywhere to live. So I was doing single room occupancy for them. I ended up taking that program and letting my property manager take over it. I gave her a bonus so she could put a down payment on another property. And so she moved all the tenants over there, and now she's the owner of that business. But then at that point, I'm like, I'm taking a big gamble. I'm gonna tear everything down because I want to build a new construction. And all the banks were like, well, you got all these existing buildings on there. We don't take that risk.
So how bad were you? Like you were like 50,000 in debt. Like you had to like
$50,000 gone in the wind. Like I've paid these consultants, and I'm realizing that they are not going to get me across the finish line. So I got to hit reset.
So take me through the process, like when you renegotiated with the owner to take some of the equity, like so.
Okay,
because you gave him 10% down, right?
I gave him 10% down. So at that point in time, this is when Fifth Ward, when they was calling it the bloody nickel.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted to have anything to do with it. But I'm looking at the property right off of 59. I can see downtown, and I know all the redevelopment's coming. I'm like, okay, this is a prime site to take advantage of early. So I go to the seller, the owner at that point in time, and the older guy, Jewish guy, actually had a drug problem. And I was like, what do you want? And he was like, I want $500,000. I'm like, man, there's no way that the value of this property, if I try to go to a bank or get it appraised, is going to appraise for $500,000.
Correct.
But then I thought about it. I was like, okay, well, let me think about this not so much about as a transaction, but as a partnership.
But like what? See, I think I might have gave up right there. I would have been like, this man crazy. Most people would have guessed. So what kept you on that trajectory? Like what made you just know like this is it? Like this is going to change my life.
Man, I didn't even know it was going to change my life. I just knew that it was my next step because, I've been flipping houses in 2008. I had rental properties, and I just wanted to change that model. I was like, how can I control more property at once? How can I control entire blocks? This is before Buy the Block was even a phrase.
Yeah.
I was like, how can I have a big
So this is before the Rick Ross song.
Yeah, way before the Rick Ross song. Yeah. So I go to him and I'm like, look, okay, you want this much money. Nobody's going to give me that much. But if you become the bank, let me give you 10% down. I'm not gonna give you $500,000. I'll give you $450 over 20 years. So I'm gonna give you 10% down, and I'm gonna start making you payments every month, like that, right?
And then you said like he got the properties from his family that nobody wanted, so he was like the outcast and
yeah. And so and that's my secret too. Like I bought 3 real blocks.
Yeah.
In Fifth Ward.
Yeah.
I own almost a whole block in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, by Southern where I went.
Okay.
All of those properties come from 2 sources. One came from a church that's downsizing. The other 3 came from the heirs of real estate investors that had big portfolios. Correct. And when they passed, their children inherited a lot of real estate.
How'd you find him? Like, for the people that they want to mirror what you're doing, like, how'd you find him?
Man, it's not an easy process to find them. But the wholesalers have a system that they use where you're looking for a non-owner occupied residence.
Correct.
Right. So you can the easiest way to do that is look at the tax rolls. The owner's name and address is different from the address of the property. So what you do is you can look up those names and you're looking for somebody, then you can go back in and search their name specifically. And if it comes up with a whole bunch of different properties, that tells you that's somebody you probably want to talk to.
Okay.
Because they got a whole bunch of different real estate. And they have to be in a position where they're tired, you know, they're burnt out and they want to get rid of it and the kids don't want to take it over. Because people always talk about real estate actually being a vehicle to create generational wealth. It can only do that if you set up the right systems.
Correct.
So these heirs that I'm talking to have parents that didn't set up systems.
Correct.
This guy specifically, his other siblings are lawyers, dentists, doctors. They don't want to be full-time landlords, but there was property management in place for a lot of other stuff. So when they inherited it, the property management is still running the real estate while they're running their own life. But most of us, or a lot of people that don't understand that point, are still trying to run it day to day themselves. So when your dad or your mom dies, you're like, I don't want to take over that headache. I don't want to deal with managing these tenants that don't pay and, you know, all these repairs. That's not the life I want to live.
Do you have everything set up for your two kids right now, or are you still?
Oh yeah, I do 100%. Neither one of them. I'm not pressing either one of my kids to do what I do. I'm going to hand a system down to them to where whatever vision they got, whatever they want to do their life, they can, but they will inherit all this real estate, but it's going to run on autopilot. They're going to inherit a business and not a job.
What if they decide to sell everything? Are you cool with that?
I'm cool with that too. I mean, whatever they want to do, you know, I mean, because I'm educating them on what money is and how money works. So if they're going to sell it to put themselves in a better position to do something else, and that's okay. You know, I just want to make sure that whoever they sell it to, they put it in responsible hands so that we don't turn over anything else in our neighborhood.
Correct.
Yeah.
So that's all in your will and everything.
Yeah, so that's all in the will, of course.
That's dope.
Yeah, and you can do what's called beneficiary deeds too, where it's a shortcut where it's like a deed that's set up that whenever you pass, as soon as they file your death certificate, they take ownership. So you have to go through the whole will process. You have to go through a whole lot of other steps.
Affidavits and all that. Yeah. That's a headache. I had to do so many of those.
Yeah. So you skip all that. So, but back to your original question about how I got him to convert to equity. So that worked out for a little while because what I said to myself is like, okay, he wants $450. I'm gonna give him $450 now, 10% down. I really only paid him $45,000 to control the property.
Yeah.
I didn't even use my own $45,000. I went and got a real estate investor that had a bunch of money. And I was like, here, you want to get in? I had him put up 30,000 of it. So I only came out of pocket 15. 15. So now 15,000 out of my own pocket, I control this entire block. But my vision is I know all the redevelopment that's coming. So you're in the whole 15,000 and then the 40 you gave the other people. That's later.
So,
right.
So that's later. Oh,
that's
okay,
later.
okay.
So but I'm talking about when I first got the property.
Okay.
So when I first got the property, yeah. So I spent 15. I made that back from the rent from doing the parolee stuff. So that so that part was okay.
Okay, cool.
Right? But once I got into the project, like 2 or 3 years, I was like, okay, this is a partnership. It's really a partnership because he's allowed me to pay him over time for this. And I know by the time that big development starts, the value of the property is going to be way more than the $450 I'm paying for it now. So it's like a layaway plan.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
Layaway plan where you're using other people's money to put it together.
Correct.
Right? So then at the point when another builder starts doing a lot of new construction in the neighborhood and the stuff is selling without it even going on MLS.
Correct, yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, well now it's time for me to make a play. So then I go back to the owner, the original owner.
Yeah.
And I'm like, look, I know we got this 20-year plan, right?
Yeah.
I was like, how would you like to get all your money paid off in 4 years?
What did he say?
He's like, well, how the hell are you going to do that? I said, this is what we're going to do. You're going to release this lien. You no longer have a mortgage.
So he had a lien on it?
Wait, he had a mortgage lien.
So he was on drugs, but he still was like...
I did that part too.
Oh, you did that for him?
Well, because you know, I mean, I wanted him to feel secure and structured.
Oh, okay. That's cool. That's cool.
You know? Yeah. And plus, legally, for me to have the right type of ownership, I had to do that.
Okay.
You know.
Okay.
So, you know, for anybody that recognizes that I'm the true owner through the deeds and then, you know, the deed of trust and everything.
Correct.
Okay. So what I go to him at that point and say is, look, okay, let's switch this up. You're gonna take the mortgage off the property. We're gonna form a joint venture LLC.
Okay.
Now the LLC is gonna own the land.
Okay.
And as I build each house, I'm about to build 14 houses. I give you $20,000 per house till I pay off the balance that I owe you. Okay. And I'm like, that's gonna take me a whole lot less time than me paying you over the next 40 years. So now
he was like excited when you said that.
Yeah, so he was excited. So this is what so we did that. So now I become the managing member, president of the LLC. Okay. He's a partner in the LLC. Okay. Now when I go to the bank and say, hey, I want funding for the project, now I own that land free and clear. So
he was like a silent partner basically.
He became a silent partner.
So he was like Jay-Z, he was like Biggs.
Yes. Silent partner that put the land up in the deal. Okay. Now when I walk into a bank, I walk into the bank saying, hey, I got an asset worth, at that time it's worth about $350, with no debt on it.
Okay.
So I need money to do my construction. So the bank still told me no.
They still told you no?
They still told me no, but it's okay. What I did was I got creative. I went and talked to other people that had money in 401ks from a previous employers.
That's when you did the crowdfunding.
No, not the crowdfunding. This one was before the crowdfunding. This one was I had somebody roll over their 401k to a self-directed IRA.
This is several people, just one person.
One person. My investor in that project, her name was Kim. Okay. She used to work for Shell. And she was high, made a lot of money. So she had like $250,000 in her 20s.
Okay.
She had $250,000 sitting in a retirement account. And so what I got her to do is roll it over to a self-directed IRA, which a self-directed IRA is a self-directed individual retirement account where you're not dependent on some big fund like Fidelity or somebody to place your retirement funds. When you put it in a self-directed account, you can invest it in whatever you want. It could be a business. You could become a lender. You can invest it in real estate. Mm-hmm. So she became my joint venture partner on the funding side for the first phase for me to get the construction started on this block. And my goal was if I can get 2 or 3 of them built and sold, now I set my own comps.
Okay.
So that's what I did. So number one, just first step was converting the owner finance over to a joint venture. Number 2 was bringing in private capital. Do thing. And so when you made the money, I was in the stage of I had just gotten her on board and we were getting ready to start construction. Correct. So I told you I lost $40,000 paying those other folks.
Yeah. Are you still cool with them?
I'm cool with them. I mean, it's a lesson learned. I mean, it wasn't their fault. They thought that they can get it done. I thought that we can get it done.
So you wasn't like, I want my money back?
I couldn't. It was. I call that real world tuition, bro.
Okay, that's cool.
Real world tuition. So then the last 10 that I spent was me figuring out, okay, I just got to find somebody that's actually done it. So I talked to a whole bunch of different builders because flipping houses is way different from new construction ground up. And so I found a builder finally that was like, okay, I'll show you, but my time is valuable. He's like, so you got to pay me $10,000 up front as a consulting fee, and I'll give you all my connections. I'll give you my architects. I'll show you the whole process. He's like, and if you're not successful, I keep the $10,000 as a consulting fee. He's like, but if you are successful, we'll take the $10,000 and put it towards the construction cost that I'm going to charge you for building the houses for you.
Oh, that's not bad.
No, that's not bad.
Yeah, that's dope.
It's not bad.
Dope.
So like I said, so when you made that money, I was at that stage of it.
Oh, okay.
I had got him on board. We were past the point of plans, submitting, everything was approved, and we were getting ready to start construction. And so but that vision that I had for that, so I said it set me back a little bit, but it's been worth it. It's been super duper. All my buyers look like us. They're from the neighborhood. Mm-hmm. And I just proved that we can do things in our own communities even when banks tell us no.
Yeah, I saw you on Facebook. You went viral. You it was like a picture of you and that black dude. I think you had the plywood up or something on the side. Yeah. I like that boy Chris.
Yeah, it was like I think it said bought his first house at 22, building his first block at 35. Yeah. So yeah, man. I mean, that's really been my focus. Is like we can take away all these myths about what we can't do, and not to mention my whole team, from the brokers to the mortgage agents to the title company. Everybody looks like us. Everybody's from the community, so we can collectively do these things, and we can go in neighborhoods where there isn't any activity and change it around on our own. And then
you don't go up on your rent, correct?
Yeah. So you kept bringing up the crowdfunding. So that's my second project. So when we talk about our communities, we talk about gentrification. When you bring in new construction, people always say, well, can the community afford it?
Correct.
And the first ones I built, no, the existing residents can afford it, but I did it on purpose. I want the higher income people that look like us, that are from neighborhoods like that, to move back.
So they brought up the value, right?
They bring up the value, and they also change the demographic. So the reason why people don't understand why you can't get a grocery store back in the neighborhood. Okay, a grocery store has a 3% profit margin, right? So they're not gonna go into a neighborhood where they realize everybody is buying canned goods and box goods off the shelf. That's not where their profit is.
Correct.
Their profit is off the fresh meat, the produce, the fruits, the vegetables, all that kind of stuff.
I used to work at Walmart.
Exactly. So that's where their profit is.
Yeah.
So no matter how much you try to beg them to come back, they're not gonna come back until they see the incomes change. So my goal was, okay, let me figure out places where I can bring higher incomes back to the community without displacing anybody. And so that's exactly what I did. Like I said, that block was old grocery store, drug houses. Now it's new construction, high income, young black professionals between the ages of maybe 28, 35, making 70 to 150 grand a year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now if I continue to do that process on properties where nobody's living there, I'm not displacing anybody.
So hold on. So at this point, you just sold all the 5 of those houses, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So how much money you got right now for this project?
Well, okay. So the houses cost me about $180 to build each. I started selling the first one at $279.
Okay.
So the last one at $299.
Okay.
Okay, but then I got land costs and I got development costs in there too.
So how much you netted?
About 50 grand per house.
So you was like
it's like
250.
It's like $250,000. But I gotta reinvest that because I'm building on that same block. I own the whole block.
So
right?
so that 250, you don't even touch that.
No, I don't touch that because that's going back into the pot.
Okay.
I'm building 9 more.
Okay.
I'm building 9 more on the same block, and I'm doing some 3 stories with that.
So how much you put down on this set? This is like 8. This is 8, correct?
I told you what I put down in the very beginning, right?
The 50,000.
The 45.
I mean the 45, correct?
I told you I had an investor put up 30 of it, right?
Yeah.
So 15,000 what I put down.
Okay.
Because remember when I went back to the bank to do the new construction,
yeah.
Number one, I had the investor that had the 250,
correct,
and I had $350,000 in equity.
Oh yeah, correct.
So the first phase we used her money to start it. The second phase of the 5, we used the equity in the land.
So do you pay her back or?
Yes, she doubling up. She's gonna double up by the time the project finishes.
Okay. So before you officially done, she's gonna make like $500,000.
Oh yeah, at least, and then she probably gonna reinvest and we're gonna do something else with it.
Damn. Okay.
But that's the point of early mover advantage. But back to your question about not raising the rents. So as I'm doing projects like that, people ask, well, what are you doing to protect the existing residents?
Correct.
So I'm like, okay, well, the lowest hanging fruit to protect existing residents are the long-term renters. Because guess what? If you want to control the rents that people are charged, you got to own the damn real estate.
Correct.
Right. So what I did was in that case, that's why I did the crowdfund. I found another landlord that owned the whole block,
mm-hmm.
and the kids didn't want to take the property over, and they were trying to list. They listed it. They were trying to sell it, and I went back to them, and they were like asking 1.5 for it, but they didn't have the documentation for a bank to justify paying 1.5.
1.5, correct.
Right. They didn't have.
That was on the MLS.
That was on MLS. 1.5. It was sitting there stagnant. And but they didn't have any like accounting records to really show all their expenses, all this other kind of stuff. So I sat down with them and I was like, number one, even if I did pay you 1.5 for it, Uncle Sam would take so much of it that you would walk away with maybe $1 million, maybe a little less than $1 million.
Correct.
So let's work a deal. I was like, let me owner finance it from you. I'll give you something down, and let me own it for 2 years. Let me establish all of the accounting records that's required so I can get a real valuation. Then I can go back to a bank and refinance and pay you off.
Now, how long did that take? Like, you had to really, really build a rapport? Like, how long was that process?
It took a few months. But luckily,
I don't want people to think like you just got the money, you sat down with them, and it was like, and then they were like, okay, let's do this.
This was like a month and a half of us meeting up several times. And then them getting comfortable with me walking the site, and them really realizing no other buyer looks like me.
Correct.
Anybody else that's trying to buy that is from outside of our community.
Correct.
And they got a different vision. They're going to buy it, kick everybody out, renovate everything, and raise all the rents.
Did they care about the displacement of the tenants?
They did, because some of the tenants have been there 30 years.
Wow.
There's 2 sisters when I bought it, they had been living next door to each other for 19 years.
And then there was like an uncle, correct?
Yeah. They had an older uncle that was living there too, and there's another lady that's been there for like 34 years. Wow. So they were really concerned about what's going to happen to them, but they would just burn out on being landlords. So when they saw what I was doing, because they already saw my other project, they were like, okay, well, he seems to really care about the community. He has a different focus than anybody else we've talked to. And so that's why I was able to negotiate with them. Now, they wasn't as easy. The Jewish guy wanted 10% down, right?
Correct.
They wanted 50%.
They wanted 50%.
They wanted 50%.
They wanted they wanted like $500,000?
Yeah, so I talked them down from 1.5. I talked them down $250,000 on purchase price. So I ended up buying it. We went under contract at 1.2 million, 1.25.
Okay.
And so they wanted 600,000 at closing. So I was able to put that together at closing. I used some of my money, and I had a private investor put up 400,000.
400,000.
The guy just sold the company. I was trying to find some ways to have some impact investment.
How do you get these connections, man? Like
it's just networking. It's just networking and talking and being in the right circles and presenting yourself the right way.
Okay.
And making sure that your internet presence, from your LinkedIn to your Facebook, your Instagram, if somebody Googles you and they want to look you up, you've put the right information out there where they feel comfortable. Like, okay, I think I can deal with this person.
How much of this, like, Earn Your Leisure had to do with like your connections? Like a little bit, or
at this point, nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing. When I did the first interview with Earn Your Leisure, I was already almost finished with the townhouse project. Matter of fact, we did a live while I was on EYL.
Correct. Yeah, I saw all 3 of the episodes.
Yeah, so that part was already done. But I do remember when I got the contract on this rental portfolio, I hit up MG, the mortgage guy. You know,
okay.
And I was like, bro, I got this deal. And he's like, man, let's put up the money. We got it. And what I realized is like, I don't want to just do this in a small group. I wanted to dispel another myth that always comes up in our communities that we can't buy stuff. Like, we want to be mad at Oprah and LeBron and everybody for not, or Jay-Z for not doing everything. I'm like, man, we got the money in our own neighborhoods to do this. So like, this is the perfect opportunity for me to show we can do this crowdfund model that Barack Obama put into place for us doing it with that Jobs Act, where anybody can invest as little as $1, $10, and anybody. And before that, that's impossible because you had to be accredited to pool your money with other people to buy multi-million-dollar real estate deals. You had to accredited means you have to have you have earned $200,000 for the past 2 years as an individual, or $300,000 for the past 2 years as a couple, or you have to have a net worth over $1 million, excluding your primary residence. That eliminates the majority of us from ever being able to invest in that.
Like at least 90%.
Right. So the Jobs Act now is like, okay, no, anybody can invest up to 10 grand. So I'm like, okay, let me use that model for this. I'm like, because it's safe. It's an investment where if I take other people's money, we got long-term residents. They're not going nowhere. They want to stay. So it was bringing in like 11 grand a month at that point in time. So I'm like, cool. So if I do this and I crowdfund it, then day one, I got revenue coming in where I can pay back the investors, and people from the neighborhood can all say, hey, I own a piece of this. So that's what I did with that one. I raised a little over $1 million in 7 months just using social media. I didn't pay for no ads or nothing. Just doing like podcasts, going on like the Black Wall Street pages, the Black Wealth Renaissance pages, then reposting my stuff. And yeah, so I raised over $1 million bought this whole portfolio. Now we protected all of these residents on this property. Haven't raised anybody's rents, like you said. But part of the portfolio was 18 houses, but it was 2 commercial buildings on Lyons Avenue, which used to be the business district for Fifth Ward before desegregation. So they were abandoned, vacant. So I'm like, okay, well, this is how I can increase the revenue on the property. So I renovated. I'm finished the renovation on one. It turned it into a short-term event space, short-term rental. So it's like Airbnb where nobody spends the night.
How much you making off of that?
6 to 10 grand a month.
10 grand a month?
Up to 10 grand a month, between 6 and 10 grand a month. Okay. Because it's rented by the hour. So this same house is a 1,500 square foot house. If I would have just rented it out regularly, I probably would have got $1,500 a month for it.
Okay.
If I would have rented it to a business owner, say like a lawyer or something like that, I probably would have got maybe $2,500 a month. Hey. If I'd put it on Airbnb, maybe $4,000 a month.
Okay.
But Peer Space, short-term hourly rentals at $95 an hour, it makes between 6 and 10 grand a month. And I mean, it's a lot easier and people use it for everything from office meetings, from training sessions to birthday parties to bridal showers, whatever.
Yeah. Who put you on that?
My guy Isaac. So yeah, he's Chill Vibes on Instagram. He's a movie producer and a music producer as well. Just all around creative. But he's always leasing a lot of those spaces for all his different production shoots. And so I actually was consulting with him on a project, and he's like, man, you turn this into a peer space, you make a whole lot of money. I didn't know nothing about it, but it ended up paying off. So we came up with really dope design concept. Every room has a different feel. People just love the space. And so, like I said, people book it all the time.
Okay. So you're from Port Arthur, right? Mm-hmm. So can you backtrack a little bit from like Port Arthur and then you went to Memphis, and then you working for the railroad. So can you like backtrack a little bit, go from like, from high school to Houston to.
Okay. So I was born in Lake Charles, Louisiana. My mom and dad divorced. My mom moved to Port Arthur, Texas. So I did like 3rd grade through 9th grade in Port Arthur. I ended up moving back to Lake Charles after that. Okay. I was also a teenage dad though.
Oh, for real?
Yeah. So at the end of my 9th grade year,
how old were you?
Got my girlfriend pregnant at the end of at the beginning of 10th grade. So I had my son when I was 16.
Okay. So
he's 22 now.
Okay.
Well, he'll be 22 in a few weeks in December. And then I got a 2-year-old daughter. But yeah, so I was back in Lake Charles for high school, for majority of it, worked at Taco Bell because I had a kid, And then I went to college for civil engineering at Southern University on a scholarship. And I got out and I started working for the railroad, doing like industrial terminal development, building railroad bridges, all that kind of stuff. But I hated it, man. I felt like I was sold a dream because everybody tells you be a doctor, lawyer, engineer. I'm like, I'm gonna take the shortcut. Engineers are the only one that don't take 4 years.
But you was in buildings with like really, really, really prominent people, correct? When you was working for the railroad?
Oh yeah, 100%.
So a lot of people would have just settled for that. They would have been just good. Just
6 figures. I was able to buy a house at 22. You know, they gave me down payment on the house. I was able to buy a house. I was making good money. I was traveling. Everything was paid for. It was a good, comfortable job. But what I noticed is, I looked at my boss and my boss's boss, and they made a lot more money than me, but they were still miserable. They really didn't like their jobs. I'm not about to do this for 40 years. So the first year I started reading books. I was like, well, how do I get out of this? How do I hit reset on everything I've been taught? I feel like I've been brainwashed. So I gotta rewash my brain, think differently. So I kept reading books, and real estate just kept coming up as like a great way for first generation of wealth to be created.
Didn't you dabble in the stocks a little bit?
I did, yeah. The first thing I did, yeah. So when I was in training for the corporate job, they sent us to Kansas City for like 2 months, and there was this black dude sitting by the pool every day, just on his laptop.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, what the hell is he doing? So I went out there and talked to him. And he used to own a chain of gyms in Oklahoma. He sold them, but all he did was trade options all day.
Yeah.
So that was my first exposure to thinking and growing rich. Like having a mindset that if I can apply what I know in my head, I can exchange that for money instead of exchanging all my time for money.
What else were you reading at around that time? Like what?
I just read Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Rich Dad Poor Dad. That's like everybody's like go-to book.
Yeah, no, I mean it's a very impactful book. The storylines are very simple, and it really explains the difference between someone that can be highly educated, that goes to work day in and day out but never builds any wealth, versus someone who understands when you build a business, you can create wealth through that without even having education.
Correct.
The formal education. So that's what I was reading. And So that guy was trading options. So I did that for a while, but that was 2006, 2008.
Yeah.
So when the stock market went to shit because the recession.
Recession, correct.
Right. Like he stopped trading. So I was like, okay, now I really got to hit reset. So that's why I went back to real estate. I was like, okay, real estate is the thing to do. And when most people were scared of real estate in 2008 because everybody was losing houses, you're an investor. It's the perfect time to get in because there's a whole bunch of deals out there.
Correct.
So that's when I got in and I started flipping houses then.
So you hopped in like during the recession?
In 2008.
Okay.
Matter of fact, the first property I bought was from Home Investors, the We Buy Ugly Houses people.
Oh, for real?
They had so much inventory that they couldn't get rid of it. So the first house I bought, they actually had to bring $7,000 to closing just to get it off their books.
Are you serious?
Yeah. And the contractor that I used, he actually became my mentor because he was their contractor. He was doing like 30, 40 houses for them a month.
Correct.
And so he became my mentor, and like I will bring him to all of the deals I was looking at to potentially flip. And he would tell me what was a good deal, what wasn't a good deal, because as long as I'm making money, he's making money.
So you was giving a percentage of the deals?
Nah, I'm just paying him his regular contractor fee. He pads it like 15% on top, so that's where he's making his profit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it's an open relationship. I'm not counting his pockets, he's not counting mine. We both making money.
Are you still cool with him to this day?
I still use him to this day. Even that Pier Space I'm talking about right now, his team did the renovation on that. 13 years strong.
Man, you know how crazy it is. Like I literally got to cut my contractors out every 2 years because they see all the houses I'm getting, and they start charging me more.
Nah, it's really about the integrity of having the right team, bro. And it's hard to find though.
Correct.
I've tried to go with cheaper contractors. I've tried to go with faster contractors, and it never works out. I pay a little bit more, but it's like buying insurance, right? Because you got peace of mind that everything's gonna be done right. You got to worry about.
You got to worry about them stealing?
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. All that. Yeah.
So back to the story. So the stocks didn't work out. Now you're in real estate. What about that property in Memphis? Like you rented it out, and then
that was my original house, right?
Okay.
And so what happened was when I finished my construction project I was working for with my company, they were trying to send me to Canada for 10 years to work on new railroad terminals up there, and I'm like, nah, I'm not gonna do that. So I quit that railroad and I moved and worked for. I got a job with another railroad called BNSF.
Hold on, you didn't try to get them to buy you out or nothing? So
yeah, I wasn't there long enough for that.
Oh, okay.
And I actually shortchanged them. Because I told you I went to school on a full scholarship.
Yeah.
They actually paid for me.
So they paid for
Yeah, so they paid for me to go to school. I worked for them for 1 year and I quit.
So they're like pissed when you left.
Yeah, they was upset when I left. But I mean, you can't let the people control your life.
Exactly.
I mean, they was mad for a week and they hired somebody else and life went on for them.
Exactly.
Business went on for them.
Exactly.
But most people get so caught up in that they ruin their own lives to try to make a job.
Trying to be a company man.
Yeah, try to make it happen. Yeah. Yep. So that wasn't for me. So then I moved to Houston. but I still had the house in Memphis. And once again, that was in 2007, 2008. So I couldn't sell the house at that point in time. So I had to keep it. So as I'm reading all these books on real estate, I got that house up there and I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna sell it and I can't sell it. So without even thinking about it, I'm like, well, I just gotta hire a property management company to rent it out for me until I can figure out what to do. And then 3 months later, they got a tenant in it and I'm getting checks every month for $350 on top. Like, so it was the full mortgage payment and $350 in profit on top of it. I'm like, damn. So I'm reading these books on real estate investing and I got proof that it's actually working.
Yeah.
This is way out of state. I'm not touching it. Yeah. I'm not managing no tenants. Yeah. The property management company is.
Something break is not your problem.
Yeah, it's not my problem. The property management company covers that too.
Correct.
But I've said now I got a system in place that's printing me a what would be a minimum wage whole week worth of work.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not doing nothing.
So you getting mailbox money.
Mailbox money. So for me, that's confirmation. Real estate is where I need to be.
Correct.
So that's how I got started. And then right after that, I was like, okay, let me get into flipping houses. So that's how I started networking with people. One of my frat brothers worked for Home Investors, so that's how I got the plug with them. That's how I bought the first house.
That's dope.
Yeah.
So you're in a fraternity.
Yeah, I'm an Omega Psi Phi.
So how that work out?
Oh, bro, I love the fraternity life. It's just it's a bond of people that have a similar mindset, and we're all about community. We're about giving back. We're about uplifting each other, and I respect all the fraternities, man. Honestly, because we all have similar ideals and similar goals and missions. Yeah.
Can you explain CSF?
CSF, what's that?
That was like I think you was talking about it. I think when you was at InvestFest.
CSF. I don't remember that.
Well, never mind.
Yeah, I'm gonna say what's CSF?
Forget about it.
Yeah.
Okay. Speak about Barack Obama. You said he changed something like that people could start buying.
Yeah, so we talked about it a little bit earlier. The Jobs Act. The Jobs Act implemented this new tier of crowdfunding where people can collectively invest in anything. It doesn't have to be real estate. It could be a business. It could be whatever. So before you got things like GoFundMe where people could donate money, but they really don't have ownership, right? But with crowdfunding, everybody can collectively invest and own a piece of it, right? And the original limit on those types of funds was like a little over $1 million. It's $1,070,000. They just increased it to where you can raise up to $5 million that way.
Okay.
So for me, like with that first fund I was telling you about, I raised the full $1,070,000 in 7 months, and that was 1,500 investors. Well, that project has gone so well that I now have a waiting list of about 2,300 people that want to invest in the next one. So it ain't gonna take me 7 months. The second I figure out the right project, I probably could raise $2 million in a couple of days with people investing as little as $250, and collect it. So people put invest in 10,000. But what I like about it the most is like with my project, I got people from the community. I got seniors from the community. It's like I never thought I'd be able to own a piece of my neighborhood.
That's dope.
And they were like, they're like, thank you, because now I can drive by this every day and say I'm an investor, I'm an owner in that.
Correct.
And they're like, I don't want to sell. How do I pass these ownership shares down to my kids or my grandkids? You know what I mean? So, but that's all because of the Jobs Act that Barack put in place that allows us to do that.
You spoke about it. You said that every city had it's basically its own Black Wall Street.
Yeah, before 1957, I mean, when everything was segregated, we had to have our own everything. We couldn't patronize nothing else. So everybody talks about Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma, but they're talking about the one that got bombed, and that really bothers me a lot, because you go to cities like Chicago, you got Bronzeville, the Detroit had one, I think it was called the Bottom or something like that. But every city had a Black business district, and every city in those Black business district, the professors, the lawyers, the doctors, the business owners all lived in the community, and they had all this commercial property up and down these streets. The Black banks, everything was there, and so for some reason we don't talk about that. We forget about that. But I mean, and when you go to the hood now and you see all these vacant commercial buildings, you forget that those once were thriving enterprises in our communities.
Like Third Ward, South Park, Sunnyside.
Yeah. I mean, every city. Yeah, you're right. Houston has like 5 different areas that was like that.
Correct.
Yeah. So.
And you said Fifth Ward, like the 60s, and it wasn't until the 60s and 70s when they put 59 there, and then everybody just started spreading out.
Yeah. So what happened was when integration happened, when desegregation happened, I guess the majority of our community felt like we had fought so hard to get the right to do things that we had to prove a point and go move and disperse and move all those neighborhoods.
Correct.
So we ended up abandoning a lot of people in our neighborhoods. Even when I had my open house for my new construction, there were some people that still lived in Fifth Ward whose parents actually owned businesses, or they owned businesses, and they were like late 70s, early 80s. And they were talking about the anger they had towards their old neighbors and the old people, because they're like, y'all all abandoned us. Y'all went to go move to Katy, Humble, Pearland, wherever, and y'all stopped supporting our businesses, so we had to close all our businesses. That's the part that we don't really talk about, though. Yeah. And so
have you ever thought about doing like a documentary right there?
Yeah, I mean, it's something I've been thinking about too.
That'd be real dope.
Yeah,
hey, involve me, man. Like, I want to be a part of that.
Yeah. So I mean, so you got that component of it, and then so you got that disbursement. Then you have, I think Roosevelt was the president at the time when they were looking at doing all these highway systems throughout the United States, and of course they want to go to path of least resistance, so they go through all the black neighborhoods and run all the interstate highways through them, and so that's like the nail in the coffin for most cities. And from what I understand, 59. They actually had to fight to even get an exit ramp to still get off in Fifth Ward, because they were going to build a highway through, but nobody would even be able to get off and go to the business district street.
For real?
100%.
Damn.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah. So a lot of my projects now are like all in that same corridor. You know, I got that crowdfunded project on one side of the freeway, and I bought a church on the other side of the freeway. So I'm kind of saying I'm bridging that gap back. You know what I mean? Like what they did to us. We can make an excuse. We can be historians and debaters and continue to talk about it, or we can be problem solvers and make plans to implement things to bring it back to life. So that's all I'm focused on.
So I'm just gonna ask you a couple more questions. So where do you see yourself in 5 years? And then I'm gonna do like a what do you prefer type questionnaire thing.
In 5 years, I will have solved all of the myths about gentrification, all of the things that we say are impossible to do in our community. I will have a case study to say I have done every single one of them. The only one I have not touched yet is existing property owners that own their property outright, but then property taxes go up so high where they can no longer afford it and they lose their property.
That's happening right now.
So it's 2 ways to control it. Number one, family, uncle, cousin, brother, daughter, sister. If you see grandma can't afford the taxes, y'all all chip in. Y'all pay it. Whoever puts in what, whenever grandma passes, y'all sell the house or whatever you're going to do. Everybody gets a return on their investment based off of how much they chipped in, number one. Number two, I'm working with the city councilwoman for the district right now. In other cities like Baltimore, they already have programs in place where if you're a senior or you've owned your house for longer than 10 years, when a lot of redevelopment comes to community, you're exempt from the same level of property tax increase that everybody else has. So grandma is not going to be impacted by all the $1 million homes coming up around it, because our property taxes are going to stay pretty low. So if we implement that in the city, then I've solved that too. So, I solved how to bring higher incomes back to the community without displacing people. I've solved how to keep the renters in the community by buying their rental portfolios. And I'm working on the local municipal legislation to prevent the property taxes from going up so high on people that they can't afford it.
Okay. And then speak a little bit about your podcast coming up. I want you to tell everybody to look forward to that.
Yeah, so I'm calling it the Weekly Senegal. It's just gonna be like me, weekly, having different guests on in different areas of whatever we need for our community. And I realize that there's a deficit amongst all of us to really understand what a complete community is and what it's gonna take for us to get it back. So like some of my guests are gonna be criminal court judges that are black that look like us, police chiefs that look like us. It's going to be investors, developers that look like us. And let's talk about all the things we really need in our community to build a complete community again, so that we don't have to spend so much time protesting and fighting and trying to convince other people to give us what we want, when we got the power within ourselves to create these neighborhoods, create these communities on our own.
Who's like your top 5 guests you want on your podcast?
Man, I don't even know if I have a top 5. I ain't gonna lie. It's so many great people, bro, and so many people that do a lot of things. If the top 5 I would probably name would be people you never heard of, but because I deal with in my network, I have so many powerful, successful people that fly below the radar that I'm like, man, you need some exposure. Like, people need to understand that you exist, because we don't think it's possible. So those are the type of people I really want to bring to the forefront.
Yeah, I know a guy named Craig. He he mentored me a little bit when I first started. He owns literally 50 houses in South Park. I took him to lunch one time with me and my wife and my father, and he just like just ran the whole play.
Right.
And I don't think anybody. I think he owned a lot of part of the museum district as well.
Yeah.
I want to have him on my podcast real soon if I could get I think he changed his number if I get back a hold of him.
Yeah, man, that's the thing. It's like those type of people need exposure. Like they may not want the celebrity, but we need them so that the culture understands it's possible.
Like that girl that bought up the water supply over there. Mm-hmm. I think in New York, New Jersey.
Okay.
And then she was on the Invest Fish.
Oh yeah,
I forgot what her name is.
Yep. I mean that's type of example, and that's what I love about EYL on your leisure, man. They giving us a lot of exposure to a lot of different things. That's really important for the community.
Correct.
Yeah.
All right, let me do this little like who you prefer real quick.
Okay.
And then we'll wrap it up. Hold on one second. I don't know what just happened. Okay. Houston or Port Arthur?
Houston.
Houston. Okay. A rental property or flip?
That's a tough one. A rental property in the right area.
Okay. Land or house?
Land.
Okay. Money or equity?
Damn. So you can leverage money to get a lot more equity. I'm gonna go money.
Go money. Okay. 2 million followers or one rental?
2 million followers.
2 million followers? Oh, okay.
I mean, with the right followers that are engaged in what you're doing. Like I said, with less than 100,000, I raised over $1 million.
Okay. Third ward or fifth ward?
Right, fifth ward right now.
Fifth ward?
Fifth ward, 100%.
Section 8 or regular tenant?
Section 8 or regular tenant. Damn, that's a tough one. I would say, it depends. I'm probably gonna I'll go with regular tenant though.
Okay.
Some of us are gamble with Section 8. I mean, it's guaranteed money, but some I've had those tenants, and some of them don't really take the best care of the property.
Okay.
But I mean, a regular tenant can do the same thing too. So,
EYL or Breakfast Club?
EYL, 100%. All the entertainment stuff is cool, and like it's cool to hear the interviews of people that are successful rappers, actors. But man, the financial literacy is because we've always been able to entertain our community.
Correct.
And we've always had people that was individually millionaires and successful. So interviewing them is cool, but to have a platform where they really educating everybody on how to get a bag and how to be more financially prosperous, that's a whole different level.
Yeah.
Whole different level.
Yeah. Man, thank you, man. I appreciate you, man.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
No problem. I appreciate the invite, man. This was great.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Y'all have a nice day.